In my life, few days have been as transformative as the one when my father, Robert, passed away unexpectedly at the age of 50. My father was a man of few words and even fewer displays of wealth, which is why the reading of his will left my mother, Susan, my sister, Sandra, and me in complete disbelief. The lawyer, with a somber tone, revealed that my father had left behind a $50 million estate, a staggering figure that none of us could have imagined. As the eldest son, I had always anticipated taking over my father's modest business and continuing his legacy in a straightforward manner. However, the will not only disclosed his hidden wealth, but also presented an unequal distribution that heavily favored Sandra and me over our mother. This revelation struck a raw nerve within the family, initiating a series of legal and emotional conflicts. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. My mother, Susan, aged 45, was devastated. She could not grasp how the man she had spent 20 years with had amassed such wealth without her knowledge, or why he chose to distribute it in such a peculiar manner. Her grief quickly morphed into suspicion and resentment, leading her to question the authenticity of the will. She felt sidelined in a life she had been integral to, which deeply affected her sense of trust and security. Amidst this turmoil, Sandra, 25, appeared unusually composed, suggesting she might have known more about our father's intentions than she initially let on. Her calmness, in contrast to our mother's despair, added another layer of tension to an already fraught situation. As for me, I found myself in an excruciating position. I was caught between my mother's growing incredulity and the staggering reality of our new financial status. I pondered why my father made such decisions in secret, what led him to accumulate this wealth so discreetly, and why he decided to leave such an enigmatic will. This inheritance, far from being a blessing, felt like a curse that threatened to dismantle the family structure I had cherished all my life. The will became a source of constant debate and conflict, with each family member grappling with their individual shock, disbelief, and the looming question of what truly constituted my father's legacy. In the coming weeks, the situation escalated as my mother decided to legally challenge the will. The family home, once a place of warmth and unity, turned into a battleground of differing allegiances and hidden agendas. Through it all, I struggled with my own emotions, trying to balance the love and loyalty I felt towards my mother with respect for my father's final wishes. This inheritance dispute unearthed deep-seated issues within our family, questioning the very foundations of our relationships. It made me realize that the wealth my father left behind could potentially change our lives, but at what cost? The answer to that question seemed increasingly grim as we braced for a legal battle that none of us truly wanted. Each step forward in the process only highlighted how much we had already lost since the day of that shocking revelation. The days following the revelation of my father, Robert's, were filled with a whirlwind of emotions and an avalanche of legal documents. My mother, Susan, driven by a mixture of grief and disbelief, made the decision to contest the will. She could not fathom how my father had managed to secretly accumulate $50 million, nor could she accept that he would leave such an uneven share to his children, effectively bypassing her. The legitimacy of the will, she believed, was questionable at best. Armed with determination and the support of Mr. Jack, our family advocate, my mother initiated a legal battle that would soon consume our lives. The court became the arena where our family's dirty laundry was aired, with each session uncovering more layers of our personal and financial histories than any of us had ever wished to reveal. Susan's arguments in court were based on several points. She questioned whether my father had the mental capacity to make such decisions at the time the will was drafted, and suggested undue influence or coercion, possibly from external parties we were not yet aware of. She also raised concerns about the possibility of a fraudulent will, given the unexpected nature of the wealth and its allocation. Each court appearance was emotionally draining. I stood by her side, not fully convinced of her suspicions, but supportive nonetheless, understanding her need for clarity and closure. Sandra, on the other hand, maintained a stance that seemed to isolate her further from our mother. She argued that our father had the right to distribute his estate as he saw fit, and that questioning his motives was both disrespectful and futile. As the legal proceedings dragged on, the strain on our family intensified. The public nature of the court case attracted media attention, which only served to amplify the spectacle. Reporters dug into my father's past, uncovering his silent partnerships and investments that had flown under the radar for decades. This media frenzy turned our personal ordeal into public entertainment, something none of us were prepared for. Amidst this turmoil, Mr. Jack played a critical role. His expertise in family law and his calm demeanor in the face of our family storm were invaluable. He navigated the complexities of the case with a level of professionalism that offered a small comfort in our time of chaos. Yet his attempts to mediate were often overshadowed by the raw emotions that surfaced with each revelation. The legal battle also forced me to reconsider my understanding of my father. Each session in court, each disclosure of his hidden life painted a picture of a man I thought I knew, but perhaps never did. This inheritance, wrapped in mystery and legal tape, became a symbol of lost connections and hidden truths within our family. Through it all, my mother's resolve never wavered. She pursued the case not just in search of a rightful share, but also as a quest for truth about the man she had loved and the life they had built together. This battle, though fraught with legal complexities, was at its heart a search for identity and acknowledgement in the shadow of a legacy that had suddenly become as enigmatic as it was monumental. The legal dispute over my father's will not only brought to light the hidden facets of his financial life, but also started to reshape the relationships within our family. Amidst the ongoing legal battle, my sister Sandra's evolving perspective began to further divide us. Initially, Sandra had been as shocked as anyone else by the revelations of the will. But as the proceedings continued, her views began to shift, aligning more closely with the stipulations laid out by our father. Sandra, 25, began to articulate a belief that our father, Robert, had his reasons for the decisions he made regarding his estate. She suggested that his choices were deliberate and possibly intended to impart lessons we had yet to understand. Her stance brought her into direct conflict with our mother, Susan, whose challenge to the will's authenticity was rooted in a sense of betrayal and confusion about her exclusion from the substantial inheritance. The tension between Sandra and our mother escalated quickly. Family gatherings became battlegrounds where conversations about the will devolved into heated debates about loyalty, intention, and grief. Sandra accused our mother of being unable to respect our father's autonomy in making his final decisions. Meanwhile, Susan was hurt by Sandra's lack of empathy and her apparent disregard for the emotional turmoil the will had unleashed. As Sandra isolated herself from our mother, our once close-knit family began to fragment. Her relationship with Susan grew colder and more formal, a stark contrast to their previous warmth and closeness. This change was painful to witness. I found myself in the middle, trying to maintain peace and understanding between the two while also grappling with my own conflicted feelings about the inheritance and its implications. The shift in Sandra's allegiance also affected her relationship with me. We had always been allies, siblings united against whatever challenges came our way. However, the inheritance dispute revealed different philosophies between us concerning wealth, responsibility, and family loyalty. Sandra's newfound assertiveness in claiming what she believed was rightfully designed by our father created an unexpected rift between us. Moreover, Sandra's arguments prompted me to reconsider my own stance. I began to explore the possibilities that perhaps our father had intended this challenge to be a catalyst for change or growth in our lives. This introspection was difficult and often lonely, as it seemed to put me at odds with both my mother's grief-driven pursuit for justice and Sandra's seemingly pragmatic acceptance of the will's terms. As months passed, the inheritance issue continued to dominate our lives, overshadowing all other aspects of our family's existence. The legal battle, fueled by these internal conflicts, drew attention not only from family and friends, but also from the broader community and media. This public scrutiny added an extra layer of stress and complexity to our already strained relationships. In this emotionally charged atmosphere, I often found myself reflecting on the deeper meanings of inheritance and legacy. The dispute had forced all of us to confront uncomfortable truths about our family, our values, and ourselves. As Sandra drifted further from our mother's emotional orbit, it became clear that the outcome of this legal and personal battle would likely redefine our family dynamics permanently. Whatever the resolution, the scars from this conflict seemed destined to linger, shaping our relationships and individual paths far into the future. As the inheritance dispute unfolded, Mr. Jack, our family advocate, emerged as a pivotal figure. His role transcended the typical boundaries of legal representation, as he found himself deeply involved in both the emotional and legal complexities of our family's crisis. His experience and calm demeanor became crucial as he navigated the turbulent waters of our family dynamics, trying to find a resolution that might salvage both our familial bonds and our financial interests. From the onset, Mr. Jack was acutely aware of the sensitive nature of the dispute. He understood that beyond the substantial $50 million at stake, there was a grieving family struggling to cope with the loss of a patriarch and the unexpected consequences of his last will. His approach was methodical and empathetic, aiming to mediate between conflicting interests within the family while ensuring that the legal proceedings were handled with fairness and diligence. Mr. Jack's strategy involved several key moves. First, he sought to establish clear communication channels among all family members, encouraging transparency and open dialogue. He arranged mediation sessions that included not just the immediate family, but also extended relatives who were affected by the fallout. These sessions were designed to air grievances in a controlled environment, allowing each family member to express their feelings and perspectives without the formalities and constraints of court proceedings. During these mediations, Mr. Jack carefully listened to each party's concerns. He paid particular attention to my mother, Susan, who felt marginalized by the will's provisions. He also engaged with Sandra and me, understanding our positions and the potential reasons behind our father's decisions. His ability to navigate these conversations with tact and insight was instrumental in preventing further escalation of the conflict. Moreover, Mr. Jack utilized his legal expertise to explore all possible outcomes of the will's contestation. He laid out the potential scenarios from the complete overturning of the will to its full execution, as written, and discussed the legal ramifications and likely timelines for each. This clarity helped us prepare for the long-term implications of the dispute, setting realistic expectations about the possible financial and emotional costs involved. Another significant move by Mr. Jack was his effort to introduce independent experts into the case. These included forensic accountants who could provide a clearer picture of my father's financial activities and estate planning experts who offered insights into the possible motivations behind the structuring of the will. This holistic approach not only enriched our understanding of the legal landscape, but also provided a broader context for our father's decisions, which was crucial in softening some of the more accusatory tones within the family. Throughout the process, Mr. Jack remained a figure of stability and reason. His presence was reassuring, providing a buffer against the often overwhelming emotions that the dispute stirred. His strategies for mediation did not always lead to immediate reconciliation, but they injected a level of professionalism and care that was desperately needed. As the months wore on, the role of Mr. Jack proved to be more than just that of an advocate. He became a confidant and a counselor, guiding our family through one of the most challenging periods of our lives. While the ultimate outcome of the legal battle remained uncertain, his efforts ensured that whatever the result, it would be reached through a process that respected the dignity and emotional well-being of all involved. Amidst the whirlwind of legal battles and shifting allegiances, my role as the eldest son became increasingly complex. My struggle was not just about navigating the turbulent waters of inheritance dispute, but also about maintaining a semblance of unity in a family that seemed on the brink of permanent division. The challenge was daunting. On one side was my mother, Susan, devastated and feeling betrayed by the revelations of my father's will. And on the other was my sister, Sandra, whose perspective on our father's decisions was markedly different from ours. As I watched our family being torn apart, I often reflected on my father's intentions. Could he have foreseen the chaos he would unleash, or had he underestimated the bonds that held us together, thinking perhaps that the financial security he was providing would outweigh the emotional costs? These questions haunted me as I tried to bridge the growing gaps between my loved ones. The estate, valued at $50 million, had suddenly become a curse rather than a blessing. Greed and suspicion had infiltrated our interactions, replacing the warmth and trust that once defined our family. Each legal development or revelation seemed to drive a deeper wedge between us, with family members choosing sides in a battle that felt increasingly personal and painful. My efforts to mediate were met with mixed reactions. My mother, heartbroken and confused, leaned on me for support, yet her pain made her wary of any discussions that seemed to undermine her stance against the will. Sandra, meanwhile, viewed my attempts at peacemaking with a certain degree of skepticism, interpreting them as a lack of support for our father's expressed wishes. This delicate balancing act was exhausting, both emotionally and mentally. In seeking to understand both sides, I organized private meetings with each family member, attempting to listen without judgment and to speak without causing further hurt. I encouraged open discussions about our feelings towards the inheritance and our memories of our father, hoping to find common ground in our shared loss. Furthermore, I reached out to Mr. Jack, our advocate, for advice on how to navigate the legal implications without letting them destroy our family ties. His guidance was invaluable, providing me with insights into the legal process and helping me communicate these to my family in a way that was informative but not confrontational. The media attention that our case attracted only added to the pressure. Reporters were eager to paint a sensational picture of a wealthy family at war, which brought unwelcome public scrutiny to our personal ordeal. I found myself shielding my mother and sister from invasive questions and paparazzi, further complicating my role as the family protector. Through it all, I held on to the hope that we could find a resolution that respected both my father's intentions and the needs of all family members. This hope was tested repeatedly as the case dragged on, with each court appearance and legal maneuver pulling us further apart. In my heart, I knew that the real battle was not over the millions left behind, but over the legacy of our family's unity and the values we wanted to uphold. The struggle to maintain those amidst the chaos of greed and grief defined my journey as a brother and a son during this tumultuous time. When we thought the counters of our family crisis were defined by the existing $50 million inheritance, a new twist emerged that deepened the complexity of our situation. Further investigation into my father's financial affairs uncovered additional assets that had been cleverly concealed in various investments and offshore accounts. This revelation came as yet another shock to us all, casting new doubts on what we thought we knew about my father, Robert, and his legacy. The discovery of these hidden assets was brought to light through the diligent work of the forensic accountants hired by Mr. Jack, our advocate, as part of the legal proceedings initiated by my mother, Susan. Their findings indicated that the $50 million estate previously identified was only part of a larger portfolio meticulously arranged to avoid detection. The reasons behind my father's secrecy became an even more pressing question, complicating the emotions and legal strategies surrounding the will contestation. As the eldest son and a pivotal mediator in the family, I found myself at the forefront of this new development. The revelation had a dual impact. It intensified the greed and conflict among extended family members and potential claimants, while simultaneously providing a potential avenue for more equitable resolution among the immediate family if handled correctly.